graduated, elevated. Now it's my time to shine, yeah, let's go. Major moves, power moves, take it to the top one time, non-stop.
So then, if I was to ask a question in terms of the cancel culture, because we know that it's trending at the moment. If you say how you feel, if a small group disagrees, then you're cancelled. How are brands meant to navigate through that? Because, I don't know if you remember a few years back, there was this movement in the US whereby most celebrities, I would say like the hip hop, the R&B, they were like, we're not getting Louis Vuitton, we're not getting this, we're not doing that. They were burning it up, and they were like, this is not the life. But obviously they're back to square one now because they're wearing, as
We
you know,
saw the talk with a lot of
they're
brands.
drinking Moet. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but they were like, no, we're not drinking this. This is rubbish. You're against our people. So in looking at these brands, because they're well established, I think you've gone up.
Huh? I think
Oh,
you are seeing me? No.
no.
Okay. Now you are?
Yes, I am. So, looking at these brands, they're well established. People know them globally. What would you say is the greatest take from that, knowing that we've got an active cancel culture, but that's more on the social media side, more than the traction in terms of people going in to get what they need to get? What is the balance? How do you navigate through that maze?
Yeah, that's probably 1 million question. I would say, but maybe something that I can say is one of our participants said something that was very important for me. That was like, it's important to make sure that we don't mix the change that we see on social media and the real change outside social media. So in other words, what we need to think is what is going on social media normally is not what's going on outside. I don't like to say in the real life because social media belongs to the real life, but
Yeah.
it's like they might be different. So we always need to have, like, always need to be smart and to make sure that this is the reality, that we might be facing a lot of backlash on social media, for example, but we need to see if this backlash is in fact creating negative impact in the real life outside the digital networks, in the company in this case, or in the brand in this case. It's like it's like not being scared because someone is talking bad about us on Instagram, for example. It's not enough.
So I appreciate your response, but I have a question. You know how you said that it's not the actual reality because we know that there are farms,
Yes.
social media farms. So then
Yeah.
looking at that aspect, because obviously if there's an agenda, the farms will push that agenda forward. But most people, because maybe they are naive, they don't understand again that negative marketing is also marketing, if that makes sense, to push
Yeah.
a brand out there. And well, it makes sense to you because this is your field. So, forget what I said. So in terms of that, then with the farms bringing that into light, do you then think actually there is no such thing as cancel culture because we have the farms and they are the drivers, the logistics team on most of the trends?
Yeah, it's like sometimes we realize, for example, if a lot of people is talking bad about a brand on social media, then you see a lot of people supporting the brand. It's almost like a fight between two different groups in the comments section. And what you can see, I think that the cancel culture exists. And I think that currently we are always feeling the pressure that we need to be more, do more, and we are saying the right thing, you know,
Mm,
because we are always afraid that someone doesn't like what we are saying, and overall, and suddenly we are viral because
mm,
someone took something that we said and it's like had a different meaning now,
mm,
or like we are. I think we are afraid because
mm,
culture exists for sure, and we have seen that for people, for brands, for companies, for projects, for things like Olympics.
mm,
That was a cancel culture working in the
mm,
big opening, I would say, in my opinion. Um, and this is an issue for brands when you are doing marketing, especially for global brands. So if
mm,
you are a brand that you are selling for a lot of markets and they are very different between them, it's very tricky and complex for you to have a strategy because it's very easy for you to do something that works very well in the United States, for example,
mhm.
but someone from but the French market, for example, might not like it, you know, and you didn't even think about it that way.
Mm,
So it exists, it's complex, and I would say that it's affecting all of us, regular people and brands.
mhm.
And the issue is how to navigate through that, and it's very hard, in my opinion.
So I love your point. So we look at Disney because I love Disney.
Yeah.
And I think I grew up on Lion King and name it, I know the songs, I know everything. Um, but recently, I don't know if you've seen, there's been a trend whereby we've had I would say they're influencers, but people who buy stocks and they've been talking about Disney to say they've moved their agenda towards LGBTQ plus.
Mhm.
And so therefore the parents of the children are angry, allegedly. I haven't seen this data. And so therefore they're saying no more Disney, we're not doing it. But then I've seen like millions and millions of people saying, we're going to Disney World in the US. So then the question becomes, do you think Disney is doing it wrong in terms of their diversity and inclusion? Because they're doing a lot more in terms of BAME as well, which is the Black, Asian, Indigenous, ethnic minorities or majorities, depending on how you want to look at it. Do you think they're doing it wrong in terms of what they're trying to do?
I don't think they are doing it wrong. I would say that when we talk about marketing, for
Mm,
example, or when we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, it's important for us to make sure that people feel represented, right?
mhm,
So if you are a member of the Black community or the LGBTQ plus community, but you never saw an ad with a Black person or with
mm,
a gay man
mhm,
or a trans woman, it's like
mhm,
it's important for everyone to make sure that the things that we are seeing they also resonate to us, right? They
mhm,
are also familiar to us. So I would
mhm,
say that's very important, and being representative is one of the most important steps, one of the first steps, I
mhm,
would say. I understand that it might be a sensitive topic because when we I for me, like imagine sexual orientation, for example, I don't understand why it's so controversial, or the
mhm,
other ones, even race or whatever, it's like
mhm,
I don't understand why people get so scared with Disney having like a
mhm,
movie with a gay character.
mhm,
I don't see the issue here, but I understand that it might be an issue for other consumers, for
mhm,
other people. And the brand needs to be careful with that, of course, because they want to have as many consumers as possible, of
mm,
course. But also, it's like what we call about the dream market, which is, I would say, an urban myth or legend. The idea of dream market does not exist, from what I
mm,
understand. But it's like making decisions. When you are a brand, you are making decisions, and you need to say you cannot talk to everyone all the time, right?
Mm.
You have to have your audience. You have to understand what is your type of consumer and who you want to talk to. So it's like I don't think they are doing wrong. I understand that it's very easy, and Disney in the last years you have some public problems with the
Mhm.
brand regarding the LGBTQ community, and sometimes they do things that are very supportive. The other times you question about if the support is authentic or
Mhm.
not. No, it's like, but if you think about people, like we
Mhm.
don't, people are complex, right? You don't have a
Mhm.
person that is always very clear in their values, their attitudes, their behavior. It's normal. Sometimes you
Mhm.
do wrong things, good things, and that's it. What we need to be careful is to make sure that we are accountable for them, and not just ignoring them, I would say, but including people from different communities in movies, I would say is not wrong, and probably they should be starting that a long time ago, right? Not now, in the last couple of years. So
No, I just wanted to hear your take on that because we're talking about branding and obviously marketing, and the world is starting to change in terms of what we see as actual reality and what we see as fiction. But obviously, perception is a killer, as you just mentioned, on numerous occasions during this call. The next question, I'll read out the quotation because I found it really interesting. So, the rainbow, a global symbol of the LGBT community, has been adopted by brands for marketing and commercial processes, championing and reflecting the rainbowification of brands. So, I've never heard of the word rainbowification, and I thought that was quite interesting. So, what does that actually mean? Because this is in your thesis, but I found it interesting and I had my own understanding, but I want to understand from your perspective. It was
uh,
by, before I lie, it's by Lee 2020.
yeah, yeah, it was
Just to throw
it was
that in
something
there.
that I was the same because the rainbowification is not a term. It's not
Mm,
a term that I invented. It's from someone
yeah.
else. Saying, and it's always important to say that. And my understanding of the rainbowification is the idea of, and that's why in some point of the thesis we say that pride, for example, it's not a mandatory strategy for brands, because
Mhm,
it's like having the idea of if I want to show that I support the community, in this case the LGBT community, I will celebrate pride and I
mhm,
will use the rainbow because it's like everyone knows what we are talking about when they
mhm,
see the rainbow in June.
mhm,
However, we have a lot of paths. We have a lot of strategies available to show that we support the community. And the rainbowification is this idea of spamming like everyone with
mhm.
the rainbows everywhere, like
Okay.
merchandising
Uh-huh.
the symbol. And what is important for us to understand is that pride is just one of the many avenues. Using the rainbow is just one of the many avenues. And currently we have a lot of different flags for the community, right? And that's why the thesis is not about the full spectrum of the community. So we are not talking about LGBTQ plus community because it's a very wide community
Mhm,
with a lot of different experience, and that's
mhm,
why we only talk about LGBT community, to make sure that we don't fall in some of the traps of stereotypes and all of that.
mhm,
But rainbowification is this idea of using pride and the rainbow everywhere
mhm.
during June in all kind of actions that we make.
Right. So I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think it fair that we only have a month to celebrate Pride? Shouldn't it be like a 12-month celebration to say, yes, we are diverse, we are inclusive, and we recognize that in the community, global community, everybody's unique and they've made decisions or choices to say, this is where I stand. So why can't we have that kind of observation to say it's a throughout the year celebration?
That's a really nice, that's a really important question. I would say that as member of the community, we should have, of course, we should always be proud of the community and being members of the community. And the companies have a lot of resources that allow them to show that they celebrate the community the whole year. For example, if you have diversity and equity and inclusion programs, for example, that's a way of being proud all year, you know. But then, from the marketing perspective, you cannot be celebrating, you cannot be creating campaigns every day about pride, right? Like, it's not possible. It's like Christmas. You cannot celebrate Christmas every day, right?
No.
So you have the specific time of the year, you celebrate Christmas, you do your campaign, and then you go to the other one, right? And pride, when we have this, the idea of pride for sale is exactly the same. So you celebrate pride in a specific, and being, if you want to be fair, you can celebrate pride all year, right? Because you have pride is not only in June. You have parades in July, in October. So if you want to, you have a lot of opportunities to celebrate pride throughout the year. But from the perspective of marketing, you need a specific date to do something that is very vocal, and then you can do internally a lot of things throughout the year to celebrate pride all year. For example, if you make sure that the community feels safe and has a belonging feeling in the company, that's it. It's pride. You don't need to use a rainbow to do that. You only have internal practices and policies that make sure that people feel safe and good. And that's celebrating pride, I would say.
I now have a question. So does that mean that when we look at Black History Month, for example, and we look at Pride Month, these are just examples, and the other holidays that are designated to different groups, does that mean that they came from a marketing perspective and it was never about the people? Because you've just said that the marketing has to be like the Christmas has to be in December. So
Yeah.
does that mean when they looked at the 12-month calendar, they thought, do you know what, this works better for businesses? It was more commercial than thinking of those groups.
I would say that the idea of pride as a celebration in June, currently what we have is like a marketing thing, I would say, because you have pride, you can go to a parade in October or in July, right? Or in May. There are parades going happening outside of June, so it's possible. But we have this idea that pride is in June, right? And that's it. So currently it might be a marketing thing. However, a lot of them, when they are created, they are not a marketing thing. So they are created by an association, for example, by a group of people, by a specific event or a specific thing that happened in that day, and then you are celebrating that, right? So normally what we have is that something that starts organically, not from a branding or a marketing perspective. And if it gets interesting for the brands, it might be taken by the brands. And this is one of the issues with pride. We have a lot of people saying that we need to get back to the original pride. So we cannot forget that pride has political roots, is a celebration of freedom, it's a lot of color, but it also has a lot of history that is not so happy, right? It's like liberation. So we always need to be careful with that, because if marketing gets everything, it might be dangerous, because we can't forget that we are fighting for rights, for freedom, for equity. So it's like it's complex, I would say. I think that I'm always saying that, you know.
No, I think I genuinely agree with you, because if you look at, we've got AIDS month, we have Women's Day, we have Stress Month, we've got all these Cancer Day or Cancer Month.
Mm.
But if you look at it properly, marketing has gone in front. So that's why I asked the question, like Black History Month and Asian, I forgot what it's called, the movement.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's so much, and when you sit down and you analyze, and these brands like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, they know what to do. And some of these things we learn about them through marketing
Yeah.
rather than or branding, rather than the actual day, like you said, an NGO will start something and then it becomes something, then we learn about it. But usually it comes from brands that we know where we buy things. So thank you very much for explaining. The last question when it comes to your research is looking at the participants. So you had 58 interviews, didn't you? What made that a good number for you to say 58 is sufficient for me to get a PhD?
It was the number of people that replied to my request. So I've sent like hundreds of emails and LinkedIn messages and requests to participate in the thesis, of course, and a lot of people didn't reply. A few of them said yes. So it was the number of people that we got that were available to work with us and to speak with us.
Lovely. So the next set of questions, they're to do with PhD. I know we've gone over our time and it's been exciting, our chat. You worked full time and you did your PhD because you wanted to be in industry and also be a full-time PhD student. What advice do you have for somebody who's currently going through that journey and they feel like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I'm ready to resign.
Yeah. I would say that first of all, make sure that you choose a topic that you really want to learn more. That's the main thing. And then it was like a 3-year journey, and I felt a lot of times overwhelmed, and I wanted to quit. And I said that probably I won't be able to do it because it's too much. Because when you are on holidays, you are thinking about the PhD. When you are working, you are thinking about the PhD. When you are doing the PhD, you are thinking about work. So it's like it's a total mess. And I will say that you need to be ready to do some sacrifices. And you need to be very honest with yourself. So choose good people to advise you. Choose a good teachers, because the person or the professor that you are working with, it's very important to make sure that you feel motivated. Like it's important for both of you to have a connection, I would say, and be honest with you. So it's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to feel that you won't be able to make it, and to talk about it. You don't need to pretend that it's everything under control, that you know what you are doing. A lot of times you won't know what you are doing.
No, I have no idea half the time.
So it's like choose the right topic, be honest with you, be very organized, I would say, and choose good people to help you working um, throughout the thesis, I would say.
Thank you very much. And I know you did a PhD, but the question I have is why a PhD, not a DBA?
It was most because of the idea that I like the idea of being a professor. So having the PhD here in Portugal is important for you if you want to be part of a university. So it was also for that. And also because the PhD in this specific case, we had 1 year of classes and then 2 years of investigation. And it felt like the right time, like 3 years, it's okay. It's not a lot of time. Having classes throughout the first year, it was also important for me to understand a few things, to see if the topic that I wanted to study was a relevant topic or not. Like everything made sense for me, the way like the PhD was structured. And so it was why I chose the PhD, and also because I believe that a PhD relies on the idea that you need to do the work by yourself, right? So you don't know what you are doing, you will have to figure it out. So
Yeah. It's an investigation, basically.
yeah.
And sometimes you just hit a dead wall and you can't get through. But sometimes you find something somewhere else where you shouldn't be looking, and you're like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? I've been stuck for 3 months. No, I do understand. And the next question is, in your opinion, do you think now that you've finished, higher education breaks the poverty cycle? Because you've finished, you're a doctor now, living it up. Do you think you've broken the poverty life cycle?
I would say yes. It's like, I think that education, and for example, in my case, the master degree, the PhD, they were very important for me for many reasons, professionally, personally. It's like it's a really nice opportunity to meet people, to understand things, to provide new insights for networking. Um, I would say that doing the PhD, if you have the opportunity, of course, it's it's a very important decision, and it can help you. And currently, we are so many people fighting for the same opportunities. We can be in Portugal working for a US company or other things. And so it's important, and education is a way for you to say that you are different, and that you might be useful and valuable. It's like it's important for sure, for sure. Yeah,
It's a rat race.
exactly.
That's that's what.
Basically, it's yeah, and it's important. It's like something that you really need to want. If you are doing something because you are waiting to be acknowledgeable, I don't think it's the right thing. It's like personal motivation, maybe. I would say it's the best thing to have when you decide to go to a PhD.
So, when applying for a PhD, what are the three things that one should consider before they apply, in your opinion?
The first one is if the PhD will add something new to for what you already know. Like that's important, bringing new knowledge. What is your contribution? And you might probably, when you decide to do a PhD, probably you don't know what will be your contribution, and this can be in practical terms or to the academy, to the knowledge ecosystem. But it's important for you to be open to have a clear contribution in the future. And then if you be it's more being aware that it's not going to be easy. That's important. So you are aware of that, and you are ready to face it. And if that's it, let's go.
Vamos.
Exactly.
Let's go. No,
Yeah.
I love that. I think it's got so much honesty, because I think sometimes we're just like, I'll get it done, but it's such a tiresome, exciting, thrilling, but draining journey. But it's worthwhile, because at the end, you've reached the end, I haven't. Um, I'm sure it's like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
I've done it. The last question you'll be glad to know is, why did you then decide to say, do you know what, Norma, I want to be a guest again on PhD Hard Talk. I want to do part two. What are the benefits of PhD Hard Talk, in your opinion?
I think that especially when you are already doing your thesis, these kind of things, they were very important for me, like to listen other people and to feel that I'm not alone. It might be a little weird, but it's like, okay, other people are facing the issues that I'm
Mhm.
facing, so it's also normal, and you also learn with other experience, with people telling their own stories. And our first conversation, it was really nice, because when you are talking about what you are doing, you are also thinking about what you are doing.
Mhm.
So especially in the first part, after our conversation, I felt the need to review what I was doing, because I felt I had some gaps, like I could
Mhm.
improve here, there, and also your question, because it's something normal. You can make me a question that I never thought about it.
Mhm.
And I think it's always an opportunity to improve the work that we are doing. That's for sure. And also, um, you you are someone that understands our perspective, because you are also doing
Mhm.
our path. So it's very easy to speak with you about this, because you understand what we are saying. You don't need to be an expert in the field where we are doing the PhD. You just need to be a PhD student or already finished, and that's it.
Yeah.
We will have something in common.
Mhm.
So, well, it's a good start for a good conversation, I think.
Oh, thank you so much, Ricardo. So we've come to the end of our discussion. If you would like to get in contact with Ricardo in regards to marketing, branding, and bringing in activism within your marketing and your branding, I'm sure he's a consultant now, he's making cheddar. Do get in contact. The details are at the bottom. If he doesn't respond, don't be annoyed. He's a busy man. He's still working. The PhD is done, but now he's trying to get his finances in order and live his best life. So thank you again, Dr. Ricardo Grilo, for your time. And remember, hashtag project dissemination to the world and hashtag sustainable knowledge to the world.
Thank you very much. Thank you.